separately. So we are going to be using Copilot today. So if you want to make sure to take a minute and click on the link in your chat, and then in your search bar, you would type in Copilot, and then you will see that, and it will bring you to this screen. So that will be your first entrance for some of you a into an AI. And that's where we're at. Thank you, Melanie, for sharing it with a more robust format. All right, we have two main objectives today is to help you start to feel confident in experimenting, not confident in AI tools in their academic practice. A lot of us do not feel comfortable yet with AI. Some of us maybe do, but a lot more of us are still experimenting. The other piece is to be aware of ethical and responsible use in higher education. Not only is it one of the hot topics related to artificial intelligence, it's also my background. Not only did I study kinesiology that I mentioned previously. Oh, am I recording this? I'm supposed to be recording this.
Amanda, there are some people in the chat who do not have Copilot on their app screen and are wondering how to access it.
Uh, you wouldn't So I don't have Copilot in my apps, but I was able to log in via SSO by going to copilot.microsoft.com. That's great. Try that avenue. Um, One of the other wonderful features, have I started recording yet? Oh, it is
Yes.
automatically recording. Thank you, Logan. Logan is one of our TLS students. Um, so There are multiple ways to access the different tools that we have, and for some it works in one way, and for some it works in another. And I know that that makes things a little complicated at times. Rest assured, we are moving to try and make it a little more seamless. We're taking baby steps in that process. Um, if you don't currently have access, we will just work through step by step. But I was saying about ethical and responsible use. My background was also, I was a professor of ethics for about 5 years. So ethics and I go way back, in addition to IT. All right. Some Copilot tips and tricks. First off, what is it? It's an AI assistant, um, helping us to do a number of different things. It can not only generate text, but it can do things like summarize a large text. It can help be a brainstorm. It can help you organize data. It can help create and generate creative thinking. You do an exchange with artificial intelligence on different thoughts and creative tasks. It can support specific academic tasks such as writing, planning, and analysis for your courses. Yes, it can even at this point do analytics. Um, so, what particular ways might you be thinking of? And this is kind of left blank for you to think about. Automating repetitive tasks. How many times are we significantly working to make our job more efficient because we don't have enough time to do what we would really like to do, and defined as our job? So using artificial intelligence can automate some of those repetitive tasks. Another wonderful option is to provide variety. Now, I am by no means an expert in every single field that my students would take in my ethics class. However, I can ask artificial intelligence to produce a number of different case examples for a case study analysis that I would like to have the students do. And it can provide the starting backdrop of the information almost instantaneously, which would take me a couple of hours to do. Another piece of it is you can add some personalization. What do I mean by personalization? You can take artificial intelligence and you can ask it to customize based on an Ethics 101 course or an Ethics 301 course and put in the objectives of your course and have it create prompts that completely customize or personalize those the output it gives you to be able to share a number of different prompts. Again, that's an overlap of variety as well as personalization. Um, any of you using AI for a while may have also done that. Thank you, Gabriel. He is adding a number of different ways to access the Microsoft Copilot in the chat for us today. All right. So some tips in case you haven't explored using artificial intelligence and prompts is you want to include the audience. I mentioned previously you want to talk about, are you looking for a 101 class versus a 301 class? Or here the example includes second year undergraduate students or master's level or doctorate level, and it will change its output to you based on the audience you give it. You can tell what format do you want. You can say a lesson plan with bulleted points, or you could say a lesson plan with paragraph introductions. And then you could also ask artificial intelligence to produce it in a casual manner, a formal manner. Using those clear context prompts will help get the information you want faster from the system. You can also ask for that multiple format options. You can ask it to give you an outline, a summary, a table, or a list. You can even limit it, say, give me 3 bullet points, or what are the what are the top 10 items related to? And then you can prompt it further, asking it for multiple formats. Can you take those bullet points and give me a paragraph about each one? You can go very detailed in what you're asking. And I'm giving you this information because part of your task in just a little bit will be to start drafting prompts and using them. You can use artificial intelligence for brainstorming. How many times do you forget the word that's related to what you're trying to speak? Or you need a fresh idea? Like I've done the same assignment over and over again for the last 3 semesters. I need a new idea. So you start saying, I've done this. What's a current topic related to this theme? And ask for a variety of approaches again. You can take what you've used, like I just showed in the example, and have it refine it. You can ask it to create a rubric for your assignment. Okay, I have this assignment related to an essay. What are some a 5-point rubric scale that would help me identify levels of grammar appropriate to an undergraduate in their first year in the college. You can also take a bunch of information that you have and ask it to summarize it for a grant proposal. You can give it a 10-page document and ask it to create an abstract. Now, if you are looking to have it create abstracts, one of the things you want to be careful of is, are you trying to publish it? As mentioned in the opening, you want to be careful of what you put into it because it is not completely private. Uh, Things to be aware of when you are using it. You can also say, that wasn't quite right. Can you please fix this by doing X, Y, and Z? So if you are asking for the top 10 features of strawberries and it gives you a combination of strawberries and blueberries, you can help correct it and say, oh, points X, 1, 2, and 4 are good for strawberries. Point 5, 6, and 7 are more for blueberries. Can you give me more related to what types of soils support strawberries growth? So using it to continually draft and refine your output. And again, we're going to touch on this ethical use um, and also some limitations. It doesn't have all of the answers. It may be able to provide you an answer, but it doesn't have all of the answers. And depending on how narrow you craft, if you're creating your own artificial intelligence agents, you might have significantly limited what it can tell you. Um, Also, the material in it, the sample I used in the beginning, the library. If you're looking for a journal on law, you don't go to the database for education. You go to the database for law. So you have to be careful of which type of artificial intelligence and data are you using. You also have to be aware that there may be bias in the data, and you want to be aware of the limitations related to academic integrity. There are certain um, image generators that will use only public generated images versus perhaps Van Gogh, which would be a breach of the privacy of, I can't think of the word, the law of replicating data, replicating images. So being aware of what points of academic integrity is important. And as always, you want to use transparency as a model. Talk with your students about what the use is, why you're planning on using it. All right. So there has been a very active chat. Are there particular questions? Feel free to unmute, state a question, and what we will do going forward is we will actually start diving into prompting and Copilot.
I'd be happy to ask a quick question. I
Sure.
think you're kind of touching on it there at the end, but maybe a bit more thorough. One, you mentioned like using it to help generate abstracts or text for grant proposals and things like that. And my fear with that is always that it'll, yeah, create text that it has read on the internet and will output exactly, and that fear I'd be accidentally plagiarizing. So I've used it to help me give me suggestions on how to improve this or things like that. But using it to actually generate text, I'm always scared I'm going to be accidentally plagiarizing. And I was wondering if you have any tips on avoiding that.
You can ask it to limit the data.
If
Say,
I may,
please only use public sources. Go ahead.
so I think it's a legitimate concern, but unless so the way large language models work, it is extremely unlikely, I put it in the chat, that it would accidentally plagiarize something if you asked it to do something ex novo. So if you ask it, please help me write a proposal for X, it is unlikely that it makes it, that it will accidentally generate something that is plagiarism. Now, obviously, if you look at enough grant proposals, you will find that there's substantially similar language being used across those. And you'll likely end up with something like that, but you won't necessarily end up with something that looks like you've stolen somebody else's grant any more than what you see across grant or proposal writings. On that being said, if you ask it to write a grant proposal like such and so grant that you either uploaded or is available on the interwebs, so to speak, the probability of it plagiarizing goes up substantially. So we can talk a little bit about how to address those. And granting agencies also have most all of them now have requirements for you to tell them that you used AI. If you want to talk a little bit more about that, I'm happy to have that discussion. But the plagiarism probability, if you're asking it just to help you write a grant and you don't give it a template or tell it to write like such and so, is pretty low.
And there's actually a funny check for this, and I used to do it from time to time. If I was worried about it being plagiarized, I'd take it and I'd put it into Google as a question, you know, do a search for this set of information and see what it comes up with. Then I know what other things are looking at. And if there's something identical, it will likely Google will prompt you there. Um, there's all sorts of creative ways we can work with things. And there's also the research computing and AI institute that will help specifically with research perspectives. This has been a great opportunity to explore and experiment and work towards some of the different prompt possibilities. Any questions before we get to send you off to your next adventure? Have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed this session and we will stay in touch throughout the day. Bye-bye.